Hello my friends, and welcome to Greatest Rock and Metal. Today I am going to be talking about one of my favorite bands, Judas Priest. But before I do that, let me just tell you a little bit about Greatest Rock and Metal. Here I will talk about what I believe are the greatest bands and the greatest albums that I have heard and seen. I've listened to thousands of albums and watched hundreds of bands live, and these for me are some of the greatest and my memories that I would like to share with you. If you enjoyed Greatest Rock and Metal, please subscribe, press the red button and subscribe for future episodes. So, on to Judas Priest. The year is 1980. I am at home. It's probably 7 o'clock in the evening, about that time, and all of a sudden I hear this dum 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 dum. This drum beat. My eyes are drawn to Top of the Pops. Those of you who have lived in the UK many years ago will know Top of the Pops was the only music show that was on UK television. Families around the UK always tuned into Top of the Pops, and here was a rock beat, and this rock beat then led to vocals. Living after midnight, rocking till the dawn. Who was this? This was Judas Priest. The song Living After Midnight. I had to find out more about this band. What did I find out? Well, I found out that this band was formed in 1969, 51 years ago. They would be out there celebrating their 50th anniversary had it not been for COVID. Their first album, though, wasn't released until 1974, titled Rock-a-Roller, and it was actually the album after that, Sad Wings of Destiny, which we'll talk about another time, that Judas Priest really started to make some inroads into heavy metal world. And they are heavy metal, and they are proudly heavy metal. Judas Priest have had 18 studio albums in that career, many live albums as well, and they're still making albums today. Their most recent one, this one here, Firepower, again that will be covered in a future episode. Brilliant album, by the way, brilliant, but we'll leave that for another time. So that was my introduction to Judas Priest. One of the other things that you should know about the history of this band is they became very famous for their iconic look. Rob Halford introduced the band to leather and studs, which became a real look amongst heavy metal fans. And to this day, the wearing of leather plays a big part in their image. Another iconic part of Judas Priest was the twin lead guitar attack of K.K. Downing and Glenn Tipton. And also the legendary Harley Davidson motorbike. More about that later. So that's a little bit about Judas Priest. What I want to talk about today is going back to that single and the album from which that single was taken. This album is 40 years old. It's celebrating its 40th anniversary, and coincidentally, I have here the 40th anniversary edition of the British Steel album. And what is so special about this edition is that it appears on 2 picture discs. I will take out one of them, and we have the legendary British Steel logo on this picture disc. Now, what is also special about this picture disc is normally the sound of vinyl picture discs is not that great. And recognizing that, One side is the picture, the other side is actually the music. So that's why it's a double album, because it's not a long album, so it wouldn't normally be a double album, but that's why it's been done as a double album, so that side 1 has its own vinyl and side 2 has its own vinyl as well. And the picture is just a replica, is repeated on both. What can I say about British Steel? All Judas Priest fans know this is a brilliant album. It's really the album that took them to the rest of the world because it had so many amazing tracks on it. For me, this album is faultless. There is not a bad track on it. But as always, I will pick 4 tracks that I recommend you check out if you have no knowledge of Judas Priest. The first track, here's a CD version of it, by the way. This was issued, I think this is the 30th, yes it is, this is the 30th anniversary issue of the album, which came with a DVD, and the DVD was of a live concert where they played the British Steel album in its entirety. And so you got to hear some of these tracks that I'm going to talk about. Living After Midnight, I've already mentioned that one. A brilliant sing-along song. Also, I would recommend that you listen to Metal Gods. And in fact, the lead singer, Rob Halford, has now become known as the Metal God. And he thoroughly deserved that title. The way he looks and the way he sings, he has this amazing vocal range where he can go down deep and very high. And superb vocalist. And he's still got it today. Of course, he's now 70 years of age, I believe, so not quite as good as he used to be, but believe you me, I've seen them recently, and he can still bring it live. He really can. Other tracks I would recommend, the 2 other tracks, well, their most famous track really is on this album, titled Breaking the Law. Breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law. You've got to love that track, gotta love that track. And the 4th track that I would recommend, and this is getting tough because I like I said before, there's every track on this album is brilliant. So I would probably go, let's have a look again, because see, I always get torn between the likes of, we got the first track, Rapid Fire, but I'm gonna go for United. Again, another great sing-along song. It's almost, no, it's not, no, forget. I was going to say balladesque, but it's not balladesque. It's just a good sing-along, united, mid-paced song. United, united, united we stand. A song certainly we all need to get a grips with in the 2020s, where there's so much disparity and so little people coming together, being united. So, what was my first exposure to Judas Priest live? I will tell you more about that after we've looked at Rock T-shirts by the Sea. Hope you enjoyed Rock T-shirts by the Sea. So, my first exposure to Judas Priest live was way back in 1988. Here is the pretty worn out ticket. It was in Leicester at the De Montfort Hall on the Ram It Down tour. This is the shirt from that tour, and the price of the ticket was a fantastically £8 English. I love looking at old ticket prices. Now, also on this tour, the support band was a band by the name of Cinderella, another fantastic band. And so that was a really good double bill. This was my first time seeing Judas Priest live. I was excited. Of course I was excited. It had been 8 years since I first got into this band, and I'd still not had the opportunity to see them live. I missed out on British Steel tour and Screaming for Vengeance tour because I was too young. And then I can't remember the other reason why I missed out on another tour, but it was Defenders of the Faith tour, but it was Ram It Down before I got to see them live. It was brilliant. Of course it was brilliant. It was Judas Priest. This is a true heavy metal band. Full on guitar attack, pounding drums, screaming vocals. And as I mentioned before, one of the things that Priest fans always get excited about at a Priest gig is the appearance of a Harley Davidson motorbike. At the end of the show, or towards the end of the show, they will always come out for a song titled Hellbent for Leather. Brilliant track. And Rob will ride out on the Harley Davidson, giving it the revs before kicking into the track Hellbent for Leather. Excellent concert. As I said, I've seen Judas Priest live many times since then, and actually the tour that it was for, this was now starting to see Judas Priest going down in popularity. The Ram It Down album had not been that popular, and many Priest fans consider it one of the weaker ones. I think it's a little bit overlooked. I think there's some very, very good tracks on Ram It Down. Is it one of their strongest? No, but it's certainly a good Judas Priest album. Although I really wish they had not put the track Johnny Be Good, the cover song Johnny Be Good, on there. They should have left that one well alone. So, as I say, we were starting to see really a decline in Judas Priest at that stage, but as we'll hear in later episodes, they were able to revive themselves at a later date. So there you have it. That's my introduction to Judas Priest. I hope you enjoyed that. What I would also say, as I always do, is if you want to check out more Judas Priest, the place to start is with these 4 albums here. So British Steel, as I've just said, Screaming for Vengeance. This was the album that broke them in America. British Steel did good for them in America, but this really took them over the top in America. And in fact, this edition of British Steel, the CD edition of British Steel, comes with a brilliant concert DVD of them playing the Uz Festival in America. Another great album, Defenders of the Faith. For many people, actually, Priest fans, they consider this the best. And another album with not a dud track on it. And the 4th one I'd recommend is the new one, which I'll talk about at a later date, Firepower. I say new, they're the latest now because this is coming up to 3 years old. But it shows they still have it and more. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed Greatest Rock and Metal. If you have, please subscribe, press the red button to see future episodes that will include more about Judas Priest. And until then, remember, we rock.